Hey guys, got another war video for you. Either stick around until the end or skip to the end for the 4 Loki player cards. You guys can see what my power rating for the war ends up being. But this matchup is against the Chinese Alliance. You saw that they finished Platinum 1 last season. You can see by the plus minus here that this is a complete mismatch. I admit that we were very happy to get a matchup like this after War 1 and 2 were against two of the staunchest defenses in the world, and they ended up being fairly costly wars for us. We split them. We went 1-1, but they cost a lot. So it was nice to have a little bit lighter matchup here. Of course, this defense does not care one lick about diversity, so there were a lot of duplicate defenders. But I'm going to be taking path 6 here in section 1. I've got that Sorcerer Supreme. I've got a Sig 200 rank 2 Thing on Fisticuffs, and then Sinister on node 20. I'll be using Warlock for him, and then I'm going to be moving over to path 2 in section 2, and my only fight on that lane is Thing. It's interesting that they didn't place anybody on node 27 because it can be a problematic node if you make a mistake. And then there is a Man Thing on Buffet and Guillotine 2099 on Debuff Immune Mini. I'll be taking both of those fights. And then on Mini Island, I've got a rank 3 Thing on 49 Counter Tactics, and then I'm going to be taking this Mojo boss. They did obviously run the Flow Global. And usually when I'm looking to assign paths, I start backwards from the boss. Who do we need in order to get a boss solo off? When it's Mojo, the answer is Magic, and unfortunately, I'm really the only person that regularly uses Magic, that has her ranked, and that does not place her on defense in BG3. So it kind of falls on my shoulders to do that. But I'm bringing Warlock. He is a very helpful synergy for Magic. I'm obviously bringing Quake to take care of most of the fights that I'll be taking this war. And then, Warlock is also going to be used on node 20. If you guys saw my war video for the first war of the season against NY, I had a great fight against Sinister with Warlock there. So this fight is very straightforward with Magic. I'm just going to parry, get to an L2, and Power Locker, and that's about it. Now in War 1, I took this path in Section 1. I had a Killmonger here. Certainly a trickier fight. But I made a mistake that ended up costing me a lot of health potions, and I repeat myself here. I just completely missed the parry. I think that I was late. I'm not going to blame it on like a failed input or anything like that. I just think that I was late, but I just straight up stood there and took a full combo to the face. She crit on 2 of those hits. Cost me half of my health, which is always nice. But I got the solo here. Thing on Fisticuffs All or Nothing. I'm going to be Quaking this. You guys can kind of see how I've progressed as a Quake player. I'm still nowhere near a great Quake player, but I've been practicing quite a bit with my deck style Quaking. If you guys check the channel to back around Halloween of this past year, I posted what I think is probably the worst fight in 4Loki history, where I attempted, quote-unquote, to Quake a Punisher 2099 on the unblockable toggle path, and I had never done deck style Quaking before, so I just got absolutely wrecked. But Dap the Great, who is unfortunately a currently retired member or former member of 4Loki, he's been organizing 4Loki Quake challenges for about the last month, I think. And I participated in that a little bit, and I think that that's helped a lot of players in 4Loki improve their skills with Quake, which of course with Flow Global is extremely helpful. So, I ended up finishing this fight without, losing any health, which is nice, obviously. And heading into this Warlock fight, I'm feeling really good. So I'm going to go ahead and add in Liquid Courage to give me maximum damage with Warlock since he's immune. Now I'm going to count all the mistakes I make in this fight because it's pretty bad. Here is the first one. Obviously it doesn't cost me much health, not really a big deal, but it is a mistake. This isn't a mistake, but it is funny to point out that I crit on my very first attack when Warlock has such a low crit rate, which of course is unlucky with Flow. But overall, fight's going pretty well right now. I just want to parry heavy, parry heavy. And if he's infected, there was a mistake that wasn't punished. But if he's infected and he's got a debuff, then he's going to drain power, which is a good counter for flow. Now here, let's see, I make another mistake coming up here. Here, I throw a heavy right as he gets unstoppable, and of course, he's just going to combo me. And then here, for no reason, I parry him, and instead of just transferring brute force, I try to tap him twice while he's unstoppable. Just completely stupid. Now, in this case, I get really lucky. He almost had an L3, but he decides to throw his L2 for me, which was very nice of him. I get to get off my L3, so I'm going to get all that adrenaline health back. But the concussion debuff that he places on you when he throws an L2 does reduce your ability accuracy, I believe 100%. I could be wrong on that, but I think that it is. So here I'm still concussed. I parry him. He doesn't get stunned because I'm concussed, and I go for a heavy. I just assume the heavy. That's mistake number 5. Mistake number 5, I parry him, and I try to heavy him when I've got when he's got unstoppable up. All right, so I wanted to freeze it here. Look at my health. I can still solo this guy. I need to get off a parry and finish the fight. Well, I parry him. He doesn't get stunned because of the concussion. And for the 3rd time in the fight, I assume the stun when I'm concussed, and I go into the attack. Look at this. This is the worst fight I think I've ever had in my life. 16 hits given, 17 hits taken. Just embarrassing. I mean, just terrible. I can't stop dying in an alliance war, and it's super frustrating for me. But fights like this, if something goes wrong, or if some kind of curveball is thrown in there, I haven't been able to focus mentally and make adjustments mid-fight. So disappointing, but you got to move on. So this is oscillate thing. I'm gonna quake him. At this point I'm on edge because I died to Mr. Sinister, and look, dying in war is not something I enjoy, but dying twice in war is really, really, really terrible. And I take my deaths pretty hard. So I am just frankly terrified at this point. I just cannot die again. So, I think at some point I even get so conservative here that I go to parry style quake, which is really my comfort zone. Yeah, I just start blocking just because I just don't want to mess up. It was just for a couple little instances there, but get through him. This next fight is pretty interesting. I'm going to be taking Man-Thing on debuff immune, or I'm sorry, on buffet. I'm healing up here, and my strategy going into this fight was not really well thought out, but I was going to not start quaking, and I was going to dex first, so that I could get the dex out of the way and then just start quaking. But when I dex, he just converts those automatically to an armor break and a poison debuff. So I start losing my power. It also nullified the dexterity. I do it again. Now I'm just in quake mode. And he places a second poison and armor break on me. Now the armor breaks are good for me because I can heal from willpower on those. But the poison, of course, was not. I ended up losing quite a bit of health and freaked me out. But in this fight, I do start parry styling him. I would say that my confidence level with parry style quake fights is a 9 out of 10. My confidence level with dex style quaking is a 6 out of 10 or so. So, basically I'm just freaking out. I'm just like, I just need to go back to my comfort zone. And then the other thing is I just didn't want to continuously dex and give him, take more poison debuffs. So this one is against Guillotine 2099. The good thing about Guillotine 2099 is when you're fighting her on defense, is she has a very, very low health pool. Now this one is debuff immune, so she's not going to be stunned, which means that I'm not going to have any kind of momentary relief from the quaking. It can be stressful, especially for a less experienced Quake player like myself. Um, but I duel a lot. I've been dueling with Quake a lot. I've been using her in almost every single questing fight. I've been doing the Taskmaster fights, the little assassin room side quest fights with her with 2-star Quake. So I'm really just trusting my instinct here, and you can see all the extra movements and dashbacks. An experienced Quake player will see that, and they'll understand that I'm really not a great Quaker yet, but good enough to get through. So here I've got a rank 3 thing. I go right into this fight because I know what the note is, of course, and then also I had 24 seconds left on my combat regen boost. I wanted to take advantage of that. Got 3 fights out of it, which is awesome. So in this fight, I mean, it's really just the same thing. I'm just dealing with about 30% more health than the previous 2 thing fights. And of course he's stun immune. So again, I'm not going to get that relief where I can kind of rest my thumbs for a few seconds. And he's doing his part. He's being super aggressive, really making me work. I want to add more commentary, but I mean, this is just a Quake fight, so there's just not really a whole lot to say. I am going to, spaz out here at the end of this fight, and I end up taking a couple hits. But sometimes when they're throwing when they're just repeatedly throwing combos at you, sometimes like literally my coordination, my hand-eye coordination fails. It's moving too fast, and it's I just can't. My thumbs can't process it quick enough. So I'll take the win there, obviously. And then next, I've got this Mojo boss. You guys can see that I'm boosting just absolute max here. We had this war very, very comfortably won, and I just didn't want to die again. So I dueled him several times before I entered this fight. And for whatever reason, my light dashback intercepts were not connecting. Like he was just being so herky jerky and weird. So in this fight, of course, I've died in this war already. I don't want to die again, and I just had this nerve-wracking experience dueling him. So that is why I'm playing incredibly passively here. Normally, what you would want to do is get him power locked against the wall and just backdraft him. Kabam obviously adjusted the AI on the boss node for backdrafting where mediums were not safe. Light attacks should be safe, but because of that duel experience, I was very confident that I could solo him without doing that. I would obviously have enough damage with the masteries that I'm running and with all these boosts. So I really just wanted to be as conservative as I could, just to get this solo off. So here in a second, there's kind of a pretty cool thing. So I'm gonna get degened again, and that's gonna drop me now. Look how much it's dropping. It's dropping me down to 27%. I'm gonna throw this heavy and look at my health. It drops down to 10%, and then instantly, because of limbo, I go all the way back up to 50%. I know that Magic has been around for, 4 years now? 5 years? It has been said a million times, but she really is an unbelievable champ. I still think that she is a top champ in this game. She's just not a 6-star, and she doesn't have the prestige. So, but she's amazing. I'm glad that Flo has really shone the spotlight back on her because she's so good. But that's the war, guys. We won this war by so many. I really felt bad for the Alliance, but my power rating for this war was 8.77, which is pretty good. Of course, I had that bad death. Now here, you guys can see kind of my cumulative stats for the season. Overall, I'm 24-4, only an 86% solo rate. That's not great. I've got one boss solo, and then I went 1-1 in one boss. I'm at 25.04 power rating. And my overall adjusted difficulty rating is 1.28. Here's my comparison with Dream, and he's 3rd overall in the Alliance, 2nd in BG3. I'm 6th overall in the Alliance in power rating. I'm 3rd in BG3. Now, the silver card goes to Frosty Q. who is with us a rookie. He's a very experienced player, but he is a rookie in 4 Loki, so we get the rookie card. And then PWF with the Amazing War, and had an awesome fight against Warlock. Our legend is another BG1 member, forever and above, Nick F. He's got his own channel. Sadly, he's retired, but you guys can see that season 6 season where he went perfect on his channel. So I appreciate you guys watching. Leave a like and a comment. I'll see you in the next one.